Hello, LinkedIn Live. How is everybody doing? So, guys, we have a great surprise for you. I have good friends of mine, Nilesh and Simon. You guys were introduced to me by Josh Loveridge. Shout out to Josh. I appreciate you, and we got to talk to them about a couple of things. Josh and I are partners in Viacry, and you guys basically used to work with us through Unity, and now you're doing something that is so needed for companies like us. Now, before I kind of share too much, I really want to understand, Nilesh and Simon, what is FuseOps and how do you help so many companies like us?
Yeah, absolutely. So FuseOps is really the brainchild of myself and Neelish after working at Finger Food Studios in Vancouver and then later at Unity Technologies, which acquired Finger Food. So throughout that period, we were doing a lot of work in business operations. At first at Finger Food, scaling that company from a team of 100, under 100 actually, to about 400 at the time of acquisition. And then when we moved to Unity, obviously integrating it into a much larger organization. So we kind of oversaw that journey and all of the detail around, implementing new systems and getting processes in place for different functions. And then, of course,
So
training.
tell me a little bit. This is a fascinating journey, and I think the audience really love to hear about journeys. What is Finger Foods? How did you get into Finger Foods? Then Unity, this giant of technology that everybody should know, purchased Finger Foods. So you kind of got inhaled into Unity. And
Right.
then you've learned a lot in Unity. You've got a lot of connections. And then you went out on your own with this amazing company. So take us through it. What was Finger Foods? And then take us through kind of your journey.
Yeah, Finger Foods was mostly a small studio when I at least joined. I was the 80th employee to join, and Simon came on a bit later over there. But yeah, Finger Food was a code development. Finger Food was a code development studio. So we would basically develop code for a lot of companies. We would do some games. Our highlight was doing AR/VR tech. So we were the first company in Canada to have a partnership with Microsoft and do their work on their HoloLens technology. So that was the shine and the kind of attractive factor over there. And yeah, worked on a lot of great stuff at Finger Food, especially in the AR/VR space from my side. And yeah, I think I was there about 4 years when the acquisition kind of rumors started happening, what's going on with Unity coming in. So yeah, and then the acquisition happened, and Ryan, who was the CEO at the company at that time, who's also our strategic advisor investor in FuseOps, he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go on a journey. We're gonna go on a wild ride. So let's."
So I want to pause you right here because this is so interesting, guys. Relationships drive everything. Okay, so Nilesh, you were working in a great company, and that company was acquired by a giant, which is a very interesting thing to go through. If you haven't, it really changes a lot of things. It put pressure, it gets a lot of hype too, but it's a lot of fun and it's an interesting process. But through that, your strategic advisor in FuseOps is the CEO you guys had at Finger Foods. This lets me know. Well, I know this because we're friends, but this lets me know how awesome you guys are. Okay. If you had a CEO that was purchased, now that CEO is your strategic advisor in your own company, that is the type of relationships I love. And I just wanted to say that to everybody. You can start somewhere and you can grow. And you guys are growing so incredibly from Finger Foods, Unity, and now to FuseOps. So let's talk about kind of how you got to start FuseOps, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so in both Finger Food and Unity, we were doing a lot of business operations, and that was kind of the bane and start of FuseOps. And we were talking to Ryan, and he had the idea also in generality of starting a company that would help startups, small businesses, and just cleaning house and kind of making sure every system that they have works how it should, and they're not wasting their money. They're putting in the correct foundational systems, so it scales, and it just doesn't like, oh, we put the system, we don't know how to fully use it. We're using bits and pieces of it, and it's not great. So you don't want to be in that in that situation, you also want the founders, the people who are working in the company to focus on their own work, and that's what the kind of start of FuseOps was. And our initial clients that we did get were exactly in the same boat. They had some systems here and there. They had some tools here and there that they were working with. A lot of Google Sheet work, a lot of Excel work. How can we automate that? We have 5 sheets here, 6 sheets here. Can't figure out what's going on. So putting in those foundational systems like your CRM tools or your project management tools, even as basic as just making sure you're doing your bookkeeping, because that's a big headache for small businesses. So your bookkeeping.
I love that. So let me interject for a sec. So you guys are such incredible help. So let's call a spade a spade. You guys are techies, okay? You understand technology. You are more tech people than you are, let's say, extroverts like me, okay? Extroverts like me need help from people like you, because we are in what we call, well, we are not, but most people in my position are in what we call the 10% club. What I mentioned, the 10% club, is I pay for $1 million worth of technology every year, and I utilize maybe 10% of it. Okay, I barely use the stuff that we're paying for. The other day, our COO did a list of, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of tools, and had all our teams. Do you use this every day, weekly, monthly? Never. I don't even have the user. And we found out that, damn, we're not even in the 10% club, maybe in the 8% club. So what you guys do is incredible, because you help us put together systems that actually make sense and save us time. So can you describe which companies should use your help, let's say, and how do you go into a company and kind of help them bring all this mess into order?
Yeah, and that's been an interesting journey, and we've been figuring out what's the correct kind of company for us to kind of join and help with. And from what we've gotten in terms of clients, it has been all over the place. We've gotten clients from construction, we've gotten clients from real estate, we've gotten clients obviously from gaming industry and tech industry. So it's been all over the place, and it's also kind of opened our eyes in terms of what sector needs help and what industry needs help, and how the different tools work in those industries as well. So that's definitely been an interesting journey. So I would say definitely small businesses that are about 100 people or less, in terms of not just engineer people, in terms of your design, your sales, like the entire company strength is about 100-ish people. I think that would be the sweet spot, as you say. And moving on to our process. We come in with a consultation call. That's the best way to get in for us. If it's a connection through Ryan, if it's a connection through our other strategic advisors, or you or Josh, whoever introduces it, we're like, hey, let's just have a quick chat, see what we can figure out. And
now this just tells me how good you are, because right now you just started, and all your business is coming by people that have established businesses that are just sharing people to you. And before you continue, I want to tell people what you do for companies like us. So we have such high operational costs, and so many times it makes no sense and there's no reason for it. You really help with cutting those costs, right? So actually understanding what you're paying for and what you need to pay for. So that's something that was incredible for us. You need to help with productivity, because most of companies like ours have struggled with productivity, and you can just create some very linear processes that help us produce a lot more. One of my favorite things is missed efficiency gains. You help us with the stuff that we can gain that we're not even aware of. And you dive into the technology, our processes, and basically let us know what we need to do. And then SMBs a lot of times have limited resources and expertise, and you really help with that. So that is what you help a company like mine. And I think everybody out there, if you're suffering from that, if you want to have higher or lower your operational costs, if you want to grow your productivity, if you want to gain efficiency, that's what we use you guys for, and that's what we want people to reach out to you about. So how do you help me with lowering my operational costs, with improving my productivity. Can you take us into that journey?
Yeah. So as I said, just doing a quick consultation call at first and going through what systems you use, what tools are you using, how just basic processes are working, how you're bringing in clients, how you're, um, let's say, executing a project, how you're invoicing, how you're billing, all of those things. So we'll generally go through a very quick and high level, let's say a 10,000-foot view of all of this on that consultation call, and then go back, do some research on our own end, and come back with a set of questions, basically a questionnaire that we would send out, and that the client would fill out, and then do a discovery call, and those would be the big sections of like 2-hour calls that we would have with those clients, and figure out what we can help them with, where are areas of opportunity, where they're already doing well, where they just need some basic help. So that's where we'll go in. And a live example of a thoughtful example of this would be, let's say they have a CRM tool, let's say they have a project management tool, let's say they have an invoicing tool.
Let's do this. Let's name tools, okay? I just
Sure.
want to give people like a real picture here. By the way, a LinkedIn user, I would love to connect with you. Nilesh and Simon were rock stars at Unity. Glad to see, still killing it. When people off LinkedIn just say stuff like that, that just says, about you guys and so whoever commented this, thank you, and I agree. Nilesh and Simon are rock stars now at FuseOps as well. Before you guys continue, there's a couple of questions I would like to answer. This is actually from our audience. What are these systems? Would love to let you know. So give us a couple of examples of actual, and then also another question that's coming in is, what is your take on AI and how you're integrating? So I'm going to give you guys the stage. If you can basically answer systems, give us some examples and talk about AI, that will be great.
Yeah. So some of the tools, let's say for CRMs, are HubSpot, Pipedrive, Monday.com. Those are very well used. Some of the more experimental or AI leverage ones that we're seeing are Adio, and that's a really good one to look at. Some other tools that are project management based would be ClickUp, Cantata. Again, Monday.com does some of that as well. And Productive is a really good one, Productive.io. Some of your accounting and bookkeeping tools, obviously QuickBooks is a big player there. FreshBooks is a big player there. And then obviously you'll have your Google Sheets and Microsoft Suites, Google Suites and Microsoft Suites in there. But some of the interesting AI softwares that we're seeing, or AI leverage tools that we're seeing out there, and you should definitely take a look at, are someone like Apollo.io, Instantly.io. Those are really good ones out there. Copy.io, if you want to.
I love that, but we're on LinkedIn, and we got to be really wary about those tools on LinkedIn. And I'm pretty sure Apollo just got dismembered off of LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
So guys, there's definitely tools that you can use, but you got to also respect the platforms you're on. So if you're on LinkedIn, you got to respect that LinkedIn has its own guidelines, and you don't want to, be LinkedIn's enemy. So love those tools. I just want you guys to use them in an intelligent way without risking some things. For instance, on LinkedIn, if you guys have those little, browser, how do you call them?
Plugins and extensions.
That really triggers LinkedIn. So I would recommend to not have any of those, and just figure out in certain platforms that you're doing, figure out the rules and regulations. But please go ahead.
Yeah, stay within the books, stay within the outlines that the platform has highlighted, and obviously work through that. And interesting thing to know there is when we do send out mass emails using your regular emails, and if you're not using tools like Instantly and other email, MailChimp, let's say, you're not warming up your emails correctly, and they're going to end up in spam boxes for everyone. So that's just a quick tip to look at.
100%. And people don't realize the power of this. People don't realize if your email is not in the top 1% of Google emails, you're just not going to get the results you need. And you can send all the emails you want, but they're not going to get to anybody. A lot of people don't know that when an email gets erased, a lot of them shows an open. So there's a lot of things that you need to know. But I want you to take us. You do the questionnaire. You figure out. Give me an example. a company uses these things, and then what do you guys come in and do?
Yeah, so let's say a company's using Pipedrive as their CRM, Productive.io as their project management software. Those are the two major softwares that you're using. So we'll come in and we'll take a look at HubSpot. Let's say we'll take a look at what modules they're using: sales module, operations module, marketing module. Which one are you using, and what you are doing inside of it? So let's say take a look at the sales module. How is your deal pipeline looking? How many deal pipelines do you have? Do you have automation set between each of the swim lanes that you have in there? Are people getting notified at the correct time? Are you logging your emails? Are you tracking your emails from clients? How are you storing your contacts? Right. So a lot of that, and then going into obviously deal lifecycle stages, contact lifecycle stages, how you're managing your contracting. Are you doing it in HubSpot? Are you just doing it off the cuff in your emails? So looking at all of that, and then when you have those, let's say your HubSpot and the Product.io, are those two systems connected? Is it because there's out of the box integration between that? Is that mapped correctly? Are you flowing from that funnel to your project management funnel? So maintaining contextual continuity is another big thing across systems. We don't want a deal moving from your CRM tool to your project management tool to your accounting tool and then changing in the middle. And you're like, wait, but we closed for this amount. What's going on? Why is the invoice not matching? So basic things like that. Are you able to handle time and material contracts? Are you able to handle fixed fee billing contracts? Are you able to handle variable net payment terms? So all of those things are really useful to look at from our perspective. And then, building quick automations inside of those stages and processes is really, really helpful, I'd say.
Yeah.
So Simon, a question for you. I feel like a lot of marketing leaders are great marketers. They're awful at marketing operations. So first, can you define marketing operations for us? Okay. I'm a great marketer, but if there's a bad part in what I do, is my focus to marketing automation. And that's why I rely on you guys. But can you share with us a little bit, most of the marketing leaders, most of the leaders that you have, where do you see their flaws? And do you see, not flaws, but where do you see they're lacking? Do you see it similar, Simon, in a lot of the companies you come into?
Yeah, I think with marketing operations, along with just business operations in general, there are kind of three foundational pillars being, systems, process, and tools. And I kind of shout out to an old colleague of mine, Unity and Finger Food, Jim Bowen. He kind of instilled that sort of thought process in me. And you really can't have one without the other. They're all very important pieces. And in fact, it's part of our process as well when we sit down through those, discovery calls that Nilesh mentioned, like, okay, where are you seeing your pain points? If we introduce like some new systems that could potentially address this, is there like a training component? Do you need people to have ongoing support, which we can provide as well, because we can set up these systems. Whether obviously HubSpot is a big one that we work with, and they start out just with marketing as their main component. So we can set up the marketing hub, we can set up the sales hub and HubSpot. But is there ongoing support that's needed? That's always like a very important question. Are people bought into this? Are they willing to change how they've been working for a long time? Because maybe it is a bit of a switch, and that can cause some friction. So there needs to be, that sort of conversation with people to get them on board with that change. And that's an important aspect as well that we see a lot.
That is crucial. I find that if you don't get the buy-in, especially from the teams, it's such a waste of time. And that is something that we need to really put an emphasis on. And we also need to build processes that people don't feel like they're just wasting time, especially salespeople. Salespeople will not do things that doesn't make sense to them, or they'll do it for a day and then they'll stop. So you got to sell them the process so they get it. But I want you guys to understand something, and I want you guys the audience to understand. We sometimes drive Lamborghinis and we think they're Hondas. Okay. We sometimes have at our fingertips such incredible tools, and it's even more so in the age of AI, but incredible tools. And we just we don't shift out of first gear. Mm-hmm. And I want people to understand, and we're spending money. When I see how much money we're spending on all these tools and all these stuff, it's a whole lot. And if you're spending it, you might as well use it. And what you guys do is you help people that buy Lamborghinis and use them as Hondas figure out how to get to those speeds. That is what I love about what you do. And sometimes I don't even understand some of the things that you do for us, but you help us get it going. So marketing operations, ladies and gentlemen, is such an important thing. And all of you guys can do more with your systems. All of you. I don't care who out there. I've never seen even one company that was, higher than 70% of the capacity. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
So
sure.
how do you help? How do you get people like me to understand this, and how do you get them to buy in?
Yeah, I'd say the tool speaks for itself and the processes speak for itself. So when you're designing these processes or you're putting in some basic automations in there, even showing it in terms of how it's connecting systems, that's where the key is. And that's where you see kind of that aha moment. It's like, oh, I have these two softwares and they're just not talking to each other. I have to manually copy paste data so much. And when you're mapping things correctly, when you're moving data from one system to another, that's where the key is. And that's where a lot of our clients which we have done this for, that's what they really love. They're like, okay, now I can see it at a 10,000 foot view. I have my dashboards, I have my reports coming from this, and I can really know where my quarter one's looking at, where my quarter two is looking at. So doing those things, I think, are really helpful. And then once you start putting in data into these systems, the reports really start coming alive, and the dashboards really start coming alive.
I'm going to give a really silly analogy. I'm an old school guy. So how you guys help us is before you guys came in, we just felt like we were cutting trees, okay? But we didn't know kind of how big the forest was or what's going on. Now with you guys, I feel like we have like a camera on top of one of these trees and we see what's going on. So then we know which patterns we need to cut. We understand the full picture. And before that, we were just doing work to do work because it needed to be done. Now there are processes. So it's almost like the difference between management and leadership, if you will.
Right.
Like we used to manage stuff and now we lead stuff because we understand the system. So that is where you guys are really, really, amazing for us, especially for people like me. So can you tell me, think about 1, 2, or 3 points that people like me fall in all the time, and how can you come in and help, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So some of the common or the most common problems that we'll see appear again is people not using the full potential of their tools. So let's take a tool, for example, like Jira. And they've been doing
Jira, Gira, for the people out there. So Jira is an amazing tool. Go ahead.
Right. So Jira is an amazing tool. One of the oldest tools out there, very basic, but very complex at the same time. And it's a sandbox, right? You can make anything out of it. And this is an example in Unity, we were using Jira and there was an ask for building out a contracting system. And we were playing with tools like DocuSign at that time, which is just a signature tool, but they have some other tools on their backend that they were working at that time to kind of build out a full contracting suite, which means enabling you to do redlining with lawyers inside the tool itself, having a full commenting feature in there. So sales, lawyers, or legal and finance people can all talk at the same time on the same document and review it without sending each other 50,000 emails back and forth. So that's what we're working with. And we just looked at Jira. I was like, hey, we have this tool. We use this tool already for project management. Why don't we just create a simple Kanban board in here and put all those tickets as contracting tickets and start working through it by the time DocuSign is ready to have us embedded into their tool. And that's what we did. It took us probably a month and a half to put that together, which is really fast for a bigger company like Unity. So yeah, we put that in a month and a half or about a month. Got approvals in, got everyone set with their roles, and the pipeline was ready to kind of go. So people would come in, draft their documents, people would come in, get their financial, legal, executive reviews in, and send it out for signature. And you have that whole nice timeline built in. And then your executives start getting curious. They're like, oh, how long is it taking in legal to get these approvals, or how long is it taking in finance? Can we optimize that? What's the whole contracting lifecycle looking like? Can I get reporting on this? Why is it taking so long on contract X and Y? So that's when those questions start popping up. That's when you're like, oh, okay, now we can really optimize the system. And we never really moved to that bigger DocuSign system. We just kept using that JIRA system. It was so good, and started building out integrations from it into DocuSign and other systems. So yeah, ended up working really, really, really well. Also integrated with Salesforce. So that's how you kind of start building blocks. Basically, you just put in the first layer, foundational layer, and then you just start integrating it with different tools. And that's what we're trying to do with our clients as well. Just, hey, let's put in a foundational structure first, get your data in there, get the data to do the work, maintain the hygiene on it, obviously. Don't start putting too many duplicates. Don't just take your Rolodex and press import and there you go. Now you have 40,000 contacts.
I have a funny story now. So you just said Rolodex. About, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, I had a huge opportunity and I needed to find an in into a certain company. This was prior to COVID, like a different life. We were all sitting in one place. I took all my team, and most of them were much younger than I was. And I was like, guys, everybody open your Rolodexes. I need a connection in. Okay. Everybody looked at me funny and like as if, and one of them was like, Zev, we don't have Rolexes. And I was like, dude. So they didn't know what Rolodexes were. They thought I just asked them to look at their Rolexes, which was hilarious. So a Rolodex, to who doesn't know, used to be the old system, how we kept phones and contacts. But that's just funny. Now, yeah. I want to get into this question because we had a couple of times this similar question. What are the best AI tools to start with for small businesses that want to automate their process? Now, what you said before is crucial, guys. Rome was not built in a day. Okay, you got to start doing things small. You got to start making certain processes, one by one, and build a foundation, just like Nilesh and Simon were saying. You can automate everything in one. And the problem with AI, and I'm so passionate about AI, is people are trying to fix too many things with like an AI. You gotta really figure out what are the use cases that you need, but what are the best tools that SMBs start with AI?
Yeah, it's building blocks, right? You can't don't think of it like, oh, I put in a prompt and it's done. No, like you got to step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then you'll be there. But yeah, some of the tools that we mostly use for let's say connecting systems and automating even data movement from one system to another is like Zapier, Make.com. Those are the, I would say, the easier ones. And
hold on one second. So guys, if you don't understand what Nilesh and Simon are talking about, okay, that's quite all right. I did not understand. So all of these softwares, Zapier is basically a connection, kind of an API connection between one software to another to speak. It doesn't mean you need to understand. What it means is Simon and Nilesh can basically connect system to talk with one another, so they automatically know what's going on and you don't need to feed it or make the connection. Sorry, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, so an example would be, let's say you're moving your data from CRM to, again, project management tool. Deal name moves as a project name. Amount moves as amount. Dollar moves as dollar, right? Currency keeps in mind. Description is moving as description. So just basic things like that, even that moving from one system to another without copy pasting and automatically moving. So if it ends up, let's say, in stage 8 on your sales pipeline, you're like, okay, now it's signed and I need it to move into my project management system. Can I not just press a button and do it? It's like, no, you don't even need to press a button. We'll just automate it through Zapier. And as soon as it hits that stage 8, moves into your project management tool, and you can start working on your project management tool. So that's one example.
Nilesh, as you're talking, I have a client for you guys. I should have thought about it earlier, but after this, let's sit down and talk. There's a client of ours that I really need your help. And guys, this is the important thing about talking to smart people. Okay, I wasn't thinking about this. Just listening to what Nilesh is saying is like, oh my God, this particular client, which I'm not going to share his name, but it's a huge company that needs this. We're doing this, and now we can bring you guys in. So this is just a little bit of a lesson to all of you guys. Speak to smart people, bring people along. you can make things happen with partners much faster than you can do it yourself. And if you want to go far, you got to find the people in your life like the Nilesh and Simon that can really help you. And hopefully I'm one of those people for you as well, just on the other side.
Yeah. So going back to connecting systems, the Zapier is one definitely, and it's a low code or pretty much no code tool. You can do some coding in there, but yeah, you can mostly do things without coding. And then Make.com is a bit more advanced where you will need to do some basic coding in there. And then if you want to go really complex and figure out a lot of things in there is N8N.io. That's another big one. And that will
a lot.
Yeah, and that will connect basically to everything. And these systems are basically working off of the APIs that are already provided by the major tools. And this is just connecting, obviously, just two systems. But for AI, every tool now has some sort of AI built into it already. So why not take advantage of that before putting in an external third-party software on top of that software? So utilize the full potential of the tool that you have already, and then just use ChatGPT, Cloud, Perplexity. Like those things can do so much of the work. Even the free modules can do so much of the work. If you
love that, but you got to be careful. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Free modules, you can't put IP and stuff. So I love that. If it's just nonsense, and if you want to ask stuff, right now as we're speaking, I have an open ChatGPT, Gemini, and 3 other things right here. And we also have our own. So you got to know what to use and you got to make sure you don't put your IP and you don't like destroy your company before you started because you just shared everything with, data sets across the world. So I love what you're saying. We all need to use that. I'm going to interject for a second because I can't help myself. Guys, AI is crucial and AI has levels. I see 3 main levels to AI. Level 1 is what you just said. It's the ChatGPTs, the free models. Everybody uses it. If you have a company and it has employees, they're using AI. I don't care what they tell you, what you think, they're using it. That's level 1. Level 2 is customization. Some of the tools you were talking to, some of the APIs to create an AI that customly work for you. Everybody in 2025 needs to have that, and you guys can help with that. The third level, and that's why we are trying together with you guys to bring all our clients on, is a secured knowledge base that sits on your premise. Now the AI is part of your tech stack. Okay. So now it's going to raise your valuation and then actually have a feedback loop that keeps on helping and not trying to solve everything with one agent or one AI or ChatGPT. Finding certain things that work and then basically making the agents work together. It takes time, effort, but that's what's going to put you way on the next pedestal. Nilesh and Simon, this has been one of the fastest 35 minutes I've had, but I want you guys to share with everybody. Number 1 is how to reach out to you. Number 2 is how you can help them. And number 3, a couple of tips that for everybody that's watching us, they can go back to their company and take a look at something of how they can do better.
Yeah, reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can add me or Simon on your LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to connect, or drop us on a comment on our website, FuseOps.com, and there's a contact us form that you can kind of fill out and reach out to us. So yeah, something you can take back and look at is definitely go look at your CRM tools or your project management tools. And look at how you're using your pipelines in there and just basic automations being enabled in there, or how the AI features that have been launched into those tools, if you're making use of them or not. And just go read like product feature on their website. And there's so many helpful documents on their own websites that you can kind of just go through very quickly, 5 minutes, and enable that feature and work it out.
I think marketing ops, Simon, is one of the most misunderstood and the parts that a lot of companies, even if they have a good marketing department, really lack in. I know that that's my kind of things I don't do well, so I'm really glad that we can have you guys to rely on. But guys, everybody needs marketing operations, and if you don't have those expertise in-house, you need to reach out to Simon and Nilesh, or people like Simon and Nilesh. I happen to trust you guys. You're awesome people. You're extremely smart, and you always work win-wins. I'm proud to be partnering with people like you guys. And what people need to understand is, you know, I'm in the point in my life that I understand that I'm not smart enough, strong enough, good enough to do everything that I want on my own. So I need to create a mastermind. I need to create, you know, people in my life that can do things better than me. And you guys are such an amazing example of that. Everybody should follow you guys. Everybody should reach out to you guys. Do you want, we can put your emails, we can put your LinkedIn, but guys, marketing operations is crucial. And I've run marketing for 20 years and I still don't know 10% of what these guys forgot already. Okay, so bring experts in, bring experts like Nilesh, like Simon, bring FuseOps in. It will help you. Now, Simon, please, you know, I want you to finish up with us with what are leaders needing to think about in 2025. If you want to grow, okay, and I know I'm throwing you under the bus here, but I know how smart you are. If you want to grow, what do you need to focus on moving forward?
Well, I mean, one thought that comes to mind immediately, sort of related to what you just said about, you know, CEOs and founders, you know, relying on other smart people as well, because in our work, we do see that a lot, especially with smaller companies and startups. You know, the founder and CEO is kind of used to having, you know, a hand in each aspect of the business and, you know, sort of doing a lot of that operations and administrative work. Doing a lot of the sales, sometimes being the sole salesperson or the main salesperson. So I think, you know, to grow, you really need to delegate some of that work off. And obviously FuseOps can help with, you know, setting up systems to make you more efficient, your team more efficient. But, you know, one thing would be like, you know, if you're starting to scale your sales team, you know, CRMs like HubSpot, they have things like playbooks and scripts, so you can actually institutionalize systemically that knowledge that you as the founder have. Like, okay, if the customer raises this sort of question in the sales conversation, this is the way we should respond. You can put that all in documents within HubSpot that are easily accessible to your sales team. You can also set up automations like Nilesh was talking about for the different tasks to do throughout a deal's life cycle. Like, okay, we're at this stage right now. These are the things I need to confirm with the client. This is the information I need to get. So it makes onboarding a lot quicker when you're scaling up. You're not sort of bottlenecked by one person, whether that's the founder or, you know, someone in senior management. You can quickly disseminate that knowledge and scale your team. So I think that's an important message to, you know, a lot of founders of smaller businesses that are getting ready to scale.
Yeah, use fractional services, right? Like that's where it's going in 2025. Scale as you need to. If you have more business, you can hire more people in terms of fractional services. Yeah.
I'm putting your website on FuseOps.com. Everybody should check you guys out. I vouch for these two guys for being kind, brilliant, and people I trust with my own business and my clients. Remember, guys, there is a client I want to talk to you, and it's actually kind of burning, and I think you can really help us. But everybody, follow Simon, follow Nilesh. I am proud of our partnership, and I'm proud of having people like you in my network. Thank you for being such kind partners and helping us grow.
Thank you, Ziv.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Guys, scale up your teams, just like the user just said here. Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you, Simon. Connect with smart people to help you grow. See you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Bye.